Hi everybody, and welcome to The Courageous Chick. I'm Shakia Mayer, and in this video I wanted to talk to you all about a series I watched recently on Netflix called Living with Yourself with Paul Rudd. Well, it's not called Living with Yourself with Paul Rudd. The name of the series is called Living with Yourself, and it stars Paul Rudd. And in this, now just really quickly, just in case you have not watched it yet, be aware that I might give away some details. My apologies in advance. I will do my best not to, but I cannot guarantee that that will happen. So just the FYI. Now, I don't know if you realize this if you watched some of my other videos, but I like to do case studies on some of the things that I watch, regardless of how silly or trivial it looks. I think that there are messages and meanings in a lot of things, and this particular series, there were quite a few messages, but I won't get into some of the more, I don't know, technical messages or meanings. But there was something that I wanted to talk about that I find to be more common. It's a common experience that people have, and it's an important experience. So really quick, some backstory. In this series, the main character, his name is Miles, and Miles is unhappy with his life. He works in, I think it's like marketing or something, advertising, something like that. He works in that area. He's really unhappy. He goes through his days as just going through the days, going through the motions. He's very blah about everything. There's no excitement that he experiences from his job or in his marriage or even with his friends. And so a friend of his notices how unhappy he is and tells him, like, yo, I just did this thing and I think you need to do it. Now, I'm paraphrasing here. And so Miles is like, what are you talking about? But he's curious because this idea that he can have a better self, that there can be a better version of himself. So he goes through the treatment. And some things happen, and he ends up having to live with himself. I'll just put it that way, just because I'm doing my best not to give away any details, just in case you want to check it out. I would highly recommend you check it out. So he goes, he has the procedure done, something goes wrong, and he ends up having to live with himself. Now, the self that he ends up living with is his better self. This is the self that's more confident. This is the self that's crushing it at his job. This is the self that has more energy. The self that's a better lover. The self that's a better partner. This self, is everything Miles wants to be. Now, keep in mind, I'm just checking to make sure his name is actually Miles. Yes, his name is Miles. Now, keep in mind, this other self is a part of Miles, right? And so even though this is a part of him, he sees it as the enemy almost. And so, okay, let's back up. The first thing I noticed was that so many people want to be the better version of themselves. And I'm not going against that. I talk about wanting to help you all become the better version of yourself. I think we're all on a personal development journey to be a better version of ourselves, myself included. And so that's a common experience. Most of us at least, we want to bring out our best selves. We want to bring it to the forefront. Okay, we want to show up and we want to be fulfilled in our jobs. We want to be fulfilled in our relationships, be it with romantic partners or friends. And oftentimes, a lot of people feel like they're falling short. And so he wants to bring his best self to the forefront, right? So he does. Now he literally has a better version of himself. But even having a better version of himself, he wasn't happy. So he presented his better self, as I said before, was more confident. He had leadership skills. He commanded the attention of the room. He was a more attentive partner to his wife. But even then, Miles wasn't happy. Why wasn't Miles happy? He wasn't happy because there was this disconnect because he kept seeing this better self as something other than himself. He kept seeing it as an other instead of this is who I am. And so interestingly enough, even the better version was envious of Miles in some parts, because the better self was saying, well, you have this life. What do I have? I'm only an extension of you. I'm a clone. That's it. And so throughout the series, I found this to be so interesting, because sometimes people hope and pray and wish to be better, to want more, to be perfect, to have a better career, to do all of these things, to have a better relationship. But when they get it, they're still not happy, or they're not as happy as they thought they would be. And sometimes it's because of disconnect. Even when you get those things, you don't feel you are deserving of those things. So if you don't feel you're deserving, you don't feel you're good enough, that makes it really hard for you to hold on to the things that you do get, to these blessings, to these manifestations that you do get, when you feel unworthy of having them, when you feel that you are not deserving of having them. And so even once you get it, even once you get that job, even once you get that promotion, you're like, oh, okay, what now? And so you're still looking for that fulfillment. And so what I want to encourage you all to do is to make sure you are aligned with the goals that you have. Make sure the things that you are going after are the things that you actually want. The second thing is to make sure that you know you are deserving and worthy of what you do get. You are deserving and worthy to have a good life. Listen, when you don't feel deserving, when you don't feel worthy, that's when you walk around with a whole lot of guilt, shame, embarrassment, no confidence, low self-esteem. So I should actually make this number one. The first thing you do is to make sure you are to feel deserving and worthy, to have this better life, to be this better version of yourself, to be you, but 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, because we're constantly reinventing ourselves. Again, this personal development thing is a journey. It's not a one-stop shop thing. So even in this movie, let's go back to living with yourself, because he eventually had to live with himself, this better version of himself, and he just kept feeling so inferior, because he didn't realize that that's the better version of himself that's within you. So there was no need for him to be jealous or envious of himself. There's no need for you to still feel, to still walk around and have this idea of lack or being unworthy, or, whatever it is for you. Greatness is truly within you. So the things that you want, you have to align with it. You have to go after the things that you truly want, not just the things that you feel you should go after. And you have to know that you are absolutely deserving and worthy of those things. And that because greatness is in you, when you show up as your better self, it's not some extension of who you are, but it is in fact you. It's you. And you get to be who you want to be. And I'll give you a little manifestation tip. Think about the person who you want to be. Think about the leader you want to show up as. Think about the ideas you have, because you're a visionary. Who is that person? How does that woman feel throughout her day? What does she do when she wakes up in the morning? How does she dress? How does she take care of herself? How does she speak about herself? Think about those things. And now ask you, do you do any of those things? And if you don't, what's stopping you? So greatness is already within you, okay? And you don't have to fear, because that was another thing. Some people actually fear the better version of themselves, because they say, if I become that person, then I don't know who I am anymore. And I'm afraid to not be me. Isn't that something? We want to be better, but we're so afraid of everything that you're afraid of even being better. And I've had a conversation with quite a few people, and they've told me that. But if I change this behavior, then that'll make me better, and I don't know what else that means for me. I don't want to be a different person. But sometimes that next level, that next version of yourself requires that change or some changes to be made, and that's okay. It doesn't take away from your core values. It doesn't take away from, the things that you feel truly aligned with, because what's in you is what's in you. So I just want you to keep that in mind. So again, if you have not watched the series on Netflix, check it out. It's called Living With Yourself. Let me know if there were any themes or anything stuck out for you. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you all have a courageous day. And I'll talk to you all real soon. Bye.